Hello, everyone, welcome back to the Impact Report. Please subscribe and like my videos. Today, we dive into one of the most dramatic turns in the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. Ukraine's bold counteroffensive that has Russian forces reeling on multiple fronts. The headline says it all: Ukraine strikes back hard. Russian front lines collapse as war escalates. In recent weeks, Ukrainian troops have launched a series of powerful operations, particularly around the key town of Kupiansk in Kharkiv Oblast, where they have liberated significant areas, cleared Russian positions, and pushed back infiltrations that had threatened the region for months. This comes after Russian attempts to seize the area intensified over the summer and fall, but now Ukrainian forces are reclaiming ground, advancing in central and southern parts of Kupiansk and even southeast of nearby Petropavlovka. Reports from the ground show Ukrainian units conducting successful clearing operations, encircling isolated Russian groups and disrupting their logistics. President Zelensky himself visited the front near Kupiansk, highlighting the importance of these gains not just militarily but diplomatically, as they strengthen Ukraine's position amid ongoing peace talks. These advances demonstrate Ukraine's resilience and ability to counterattack effectively when Russian forces are overstretched across the theater. At the same time, Ukraine has escalated its long-range strikes deep into Russian territory, targeting oil depots, refineries, air bases, and even infrastructure in the Caspian Sea, aiming to cripple Russia's war economy and fuel supplies. This escalation has caused fires at key facilities, disrupted logistics, and forced Russia to divert resources to defend its rear areas. On the Russian side, they've responded with massive missile and drone barrages on Ukrainian energy infrastructure, causing widespread blackouts as winter sets in, but these attacks haven't halted Ukraine's momentum on the battlefield. Now, let's talk about the exterior, the visible frontline developments that shape this escalating phase of the war. From the outside, the conflict looks like a brutal stalemate turning in Ukraine's favor in key sectors. Russian forces have been grinding forward slowly in areas like Pokrovsk and Donetsk Oblast, paying a heavy price in manpower and equipment for minimal gains, often just villages or fields, at the cost of thousands of lives per month. But Ukraine's counteroffensive in the northeast has changed the picture dramatically. Geolocated footage and reports show Ukrainian troops raising flags in reclaimed neighborhoods of Kupiansk, advancing through forested areas and urban zones previously held by Russian units. Russian positions, once dug in with trenches and minefields, are now being overrun or abandoned as Ukrainian artillery, drones, and infantry coordinate precise assaults. The exterior also includes the skies filled with drones, both sides relying heavily on FPV drones for strikes, reconnaissance, and even intercepting each other. Ukraine has mastered electronic warfare to jam Russian drones in critical areas, while launching their own deep strikes that hit Russian airfields, ammunition depots, and ports hundreds of kilometers behind the lines. Visually, the landscapes are scarred. Destroyed vehicles litter the roads, craters dot the steppes of eastern Ukraine, and smoke rises from struck targets on both sides. Russian advances in the south, like near Huliopol, have slowed, with their troops facing foggy weather that Ukraine exploits for movement. Overall, the exterior view shows a war escalating in intensity, more strikes, more casualties, but with Ukraine proving it can seize the initiative and force Russia onto the defensive in select directions. The performance of both militaries tells a story of endurance, innovation, and high costs. Ukraine's armed forces have shown remarkable performance in this latest phase, conducting tactical counterattacks that liberate territory Russian forces spent months trying to capture. In Kupiansk, Ukrainian units have advanced several kilometers, clearing microraions and heights that give them fire control over Russian supply routes. Their performance relies on superior drone usage, spotting enemy movements, guiding artillery, and striking convoys before they reach the front. Ukrainian commanders like General Syrskyi emphasize training and motivation, with troops holding fortified lines while launching surprises that catch Russian forces off guard. Despite being outnumbered in some sectors, Ukraine performs efficiently, inflicting disproportionate losses. Estimates suggest Russia suffers several times more casualties for each advance. Russia, on the other hand, performs through sheer mass, waves of infantry assaults, supported by artillery barrages and glide bombs. Their performance has secured slow gains in Donetsk, but at staggering costs over 1 million total casualties since the invasion began, with 2025 alone seeing tens of thousands lost for fractions of territory. Russian drone swarms and missile strikes perform well in terrorizing civilian areas and disrupting power, but fail to break Ukrainian will or logistics completely. Performance-wise, Russia's reliance on quantity over quality shows cracks. Equipment losses force them to pull old Soviet stocks, and recruitment struggles despite high bonuses. Ukraine's performance shines in adaptability, long-range ATACMS or domestic drones hitting Russian refineries, reducing fuel for their machines, and sea drones targeting Black Sea assets. Both sides perform in harsh winter conditions approaching, but Ukraine's recent successes boost morale and prove their military can escalate effectively when needed. Safety features in this context refer to the defensive measures each side employs to protect troops and civilians amid escalation. Ukraine has prioritized safety through layered defenses, extensive minefields, trench networks, and drone surveillance that warn of incoming assaults. Electronic warfare units jam Russian guided bombs and drones, a critical safety feature saving countless lives. Fortified positions in the fortress belt around key cities like Slavyansk and Kramatorsk act as safety nets, forcing Russia into costly urban fights they'd rather avoid. For civilians, Ukraine evacuates frontline towns and builds shelters, though Russian strikes on energy grids threaten safety during winter blackouts. Air defense systems like Patriot intercept many missiles, a vital safety feature despite overwhelming Russian volumes. Russia employs safety through numbers, human wave tactics, shield elite units, but expose conscripts to danger and deep bunkers along occupied lines. Their safety features include fiber-optic drones resistant to jamming and massive artillery to suppress Ukrainian fire. However, poor training and command lead to high risks for Russian troops, with reports of units refusing orders or suffering heavy losses from Ukrainian ambushes. Both sides use UGV and remote systems as safety features to reduce manned exposure. Overall, safety remains precarious. Escalation means more long-range threats, endangering rear areas and civilians far from the front. Unique selling points, or what sets this phase apart, are Ukraine's deep strikes and counteroffensive resilience. Ukraine's USP is precision and innovation, domestic drones reaching the Caspian Sea, hitting oil platforms and causing economic pain without needing massive armies. Their ability to counterattack in Kupiansk after months of defense is a standout, showing tactical flexibility Western aid enables. Russia's USP is persistence and volume. Endless drone/missile salvos and manpower reserves allow sustained pressure, even if inefficient. Their glide bombs and interdiction efforts disrupt Ukrainian logistics uniquely. But Ukraine's USP morale, international support, and asymmetric strikes give it an edge in escalation control. Price here means the human, economic, and material cost. Russia's price is astronomical. Hundreds of thousands killed or wounded in 2025 alone for small gains, economy strained by sanctions despite oil revenues and stockpiles depleting. Ukraine pays dearly too, civilian infrastructure destroyed, blackouts, evacuations, but leverages aid to offset. The war's price escalates for both, with no quick end. In conclusion, Ukraine's strikes back hard have shifted momentum, preventing Russian collapses from materializing while inflicting real setbacks. The war escalates, but Ukraine's performance shows it's far from defeated. Peace talks continue, but battlefield realities will decide. Stay tuned for updates. Like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below.